Good evening, all. Today's session is Bengal board building tradition, a living heritage, presented by Mr. Swarup Bhattacharya, a visiting fellow in Anthropological Survey of India. And the session is chaired by Dr. Satheesh Babu PK, head of the Department of Ship Technology, CUSAT. Today's topic is a little different from our usual INA lectures, in which we go into the ancient to the continuum of a living tradition of boat building in Bengal, delivered by an anthropologist. So it's my privilege to introduce the session chair, Dr. P.K. Satheesh Babu. He is the head of the Department of Ship Technology, Cochin University of Science and Technology, a naval architect from the 1988 to 92 batch of the Department of Ship Technology, and has a master's degree from IIT Bombay, PhD from Cochin University, and PG Diploma in Management from IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University. He has more than 30 years of experience in various fields such as design, building and operation of ships and submarines, quality control, research and academics. He also served the Indian Navy for 22 years and retired as a commander. Presently heading the Department of Ship Technology, Cochin University of Science and Technology. His research areas include marine hydrodynamics, material science, corrosion science, and ship design. He has authored several technical papers in international and national journals as well as conferences. With this introduction, sir, I would hand over the session to our session chair, Dr. Satheesh Babu.
Thank you, Dr. Iyengar, for this nice introduction. And I would like to also thank Institution of Naval Architects for inviting me as session chair for this talk. And I'm very happy to know that the INA is conducting such talks on diverse topics by eminent speakers. And the topic today is very, very interesting. And as Dr. Iyengar said, it is slightly different from normal lectures. So we have a very prominent and well-known historian and anthropologist, Mr. Swarup Bhattacharya. He is a visiting fellow at Anthropological Survey of India, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. And he'll be talking about stapled technology, the speciality of Bengal boat. In fact, the technology of boat building is very unique at different parts of our country. And some historians say that by looking at the boat, you can say that it was constructed at which part of the country. So I will not go to any depth into the talk because we have a very, very prominent speaker. So I will just give an introduction about our speaker. Mr. Swarup Bhattacharya got master's degree in anthropology from University of Calcutta in the year 1995. Since 1997, he is doing research on Bengal maritime culture. Man-boat relationship became the area of research which he has looked from an anthropological perspective through intensive field-based research. Mr. Swarup has worked in Center for Maritime Archaeology in Denmark under National Museum of Denmark as guest research scholar, where he had interacted some world-renowned maritime archaeologists like Greenhill, Sean McGill, Lucy Blue, Mr. Colin Palmer, Fred Hooker, Jell Hill, and so many others. Presently, Mr. Swarup is a visiting fellow of Anthropological Survey of India and a guest lecturer of Ravindra Bharati University and consultant curator at Vidyasagar University. He has conducted several research on maritime heritage and maritime technology as research associate of National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies under CSIR. And is also a senior research fellow of Anthropological Survey of India. Later, I became research associate at Archaeological Survey of India. Mr. Swarup has established Heritage Boards of Bengal Gallery in Kolkata. He is also engaged with Water Transport Gallery of IIT Kharagpur and Odisha Maritime Museum. So with this brief introduction, I'm sure that the talk today is going to give us an overview of the historical perspective, how the boat building at Bengal was there. So as I said, the boats were built even before we naval architects were born. So we are looking forward to this talk, sir. And I request you to take over the session, sir. Over to Mr. Swarup.
Thank you so much. It's my privilege that in front of the naval architects or the naval engineers to say about our indigenous technology, our traditional mode of transport. I'd like to say about that we know the development of boat took place much earlier than the invention of wheel. So it's not a few thousand years, it's a thousand years ago that man developed that watercraft or maybe the boat. I'd like to share my screen first. I will highlight some of the technologies which we use at present time. I'm not talking about the old history. I'm talking about my my observation, what I have seen in the rural Bengal. This is the rural Bengal. The Bengal Delta. It's full of rivers, so many rivers, and those nature of rivers are of different types. The nature of river means sometimes it's very shallow in depth, sometimes it's very deep, sometimes it is full of wave, somewhere it is one directional current, and somewhere it is both directional current. So that different nature of the river and also the heritage of that locality gives birth to different types of boat. Here in Bengal, practically boat used to reach from one bank to other, sometimes from one's paternal house to one maternal house. So here, boat plays a very important role in day-to-day life in Bengal. Here, everybody, the rural Bengal, they knows how to swim. They also knows how to row a boat, how to paddle a boat, and they know what kind of boat they need to cater their need. Here, don't we also fly? Sometimes we go against current. So in sometimes we use to tow our boat from the bank. This is called Guntana. This is my photograph. I have taken it in North Bengal. If you ask a kid, he will draw a picture of like that. That means there is always some river body or water body, and sometimes there is a boat. We have different types of boats I have already mentioned. Look into the boat shape. It's unique. Nowhere in the world you can find that kind of structure, the shape of a boat. It's called Chandnuko. It is our pride. Now, I'd like to tell you about some technological inputs. On the basis of the construction of hull, we can divide it. We all know it, the shell built, skeleton built, and there is also some intermediate technology. I'd like to tell you about that. The Bengal boat is generally shell built, where the planks are laid, fastened with some kind of method. They put the shell first, and then they insert those inner stringers. Sometimes we call it ribs. But we have also another kind, which we call it skeleton built. Still, there are some places in Bengal, those people, they follow that tradition. Again, we have also another tradition, which we call it intermediate. That is not at all a shell built, that is not at all a skeleton built. It is in between. If we look into our outer hull of the boat, there is in the left-hand side, the photograph is smooth skinned, whereas in the right-hand side, it is not smooth. It is clinker in fashion. Sometimes here it is on the top, the clinker, and the lower bottom part of the boat is reverse clinker. Now we can try to look into different methods of fastening of two planks. Here in the left-hand side, it's from a sail. Here the boat is clearly depicted that there are something which is tied in between two planks, in between the two seams. These are. Here in the right-hand side, also there are very clear picture that two planks are running parallel and there are something. What is those? We do not know actually. Actually, there is no reference of that kind of, what kind of method they use on that time. But if you look at the present day boats of Bengal, you can get that kind of something structure. These are the metal staples. We call it metal staples. These are double-ended nail, just like a staple pin. Before putting two planks side by side, they make a slot. On that slot, they insert that double-ended nail. These are the clamps which holds two planks together. So this is the method by which all Bengal boats used to build. So this is the unique method of Bengal, where you can find that kind of technology, and that kind of technology you cannot find except in Bengal. In Bengal, Bangladesh, some parts of Orissa, some parts of Bihar, some parts of Uttar Pradesh, you can get that kind of technology. But nowhere in the world, except those places, you cannot get that kind of technology. So this technology, I call it staple technology. It's the unique of Bengal. Not only that, we have another variety that is called shewn boats. Two planks are added and then we shilai kori, we shewed it with a kind of reed. We have another kind where the boat is entirely nailed. Without any nail, that kind of boat cannot be built. It's the patia. Again, we can look into different sail structures. We have different sail structure. In the left-hand side, it's called sprit sail, common for all country boat, all smaller boats. And the right-hand side, it's a huge, huge sail. It's the sail, we call it lug, L-U-G. Sometimes we call it also Portuguese lifestyle. So we have different tradition of sails. We have also square sail, the most primitive type of sail. Still we have, but very rare. Because in the 1990s, in the mid 1990s, many such boats are replaced by engines. So they do not use that sail since after 1995. Now, almost all boats, they lost that kind of sail. So we lost a chapter from our country boats. Not only the square sail, look into the aesthetics, the color. They deliberately put white sail on the outer side and the blue sail inside. That means we have the aesthetic sense. Yes, majestic sail. We lost that tradition, but in Bangladesh, our friend, it's an NGO called Friendship. They are making those boats, traditional boats. They are again putting those traditional sails and they are running those boats. So there is one experimental archaeology is still going on in Bangladesh. In Bay of Bengal, in near Puri, in Digha region, in the eastern coast, you can get that kind of sail. That is an unique sail. Maybe you can find it in the Borobudur temple, little bit modified. So this is 1990. I have taken that photograph from National Geographic. You can see different types of boats. You can find different typological variety of boat. You can also find different kinds of sail. This is our richness. Nowhere in the world you can compare with our technology, our sailing boats, our traditional boats. Not only me, it is the Basil Greenhill, James Hornell, who did work on Bengal. They told it. And I had the opportunity to talk with them, to talk with Sean McGrill, to talk with Basil Greenhill in 2001. And they literally told me repeatedly that is nowhere in the world you can get such variety of boats except in Bangladesh and West Bengal. So now we can look into our boat types. We can look the planking pattern. One thing you have to remember that always there are some rivers in Bengal and you will get some boat builders nearby of that river. If there is a need, then the people, those who want that boat, they used to contact that boat builder. That boat builder used to build as per their demand. They will build those boats which are typologically visible only on that region. Those boat makers built boats only to a certain area, not to others. So their knowledge of boat, knowledge of riverine character restricted to only that stretch of the river. And here I'm talking about a place, it's called Bolagor. Bolagor in Hooghly district of West Bengal, where a village, entire village, they built boats. They built boats and they kept those boats in their courtyard. It's unique in the world. That is the commercial boat building center. If you need any boat, you can go to that Bolagor, you can choose that boat and you can take it. I think it is developed after the medieval port Shoptogram. When the Shoptogram declined, then the boat builders thought they can build those boats in their courtyard. They can keep it in their courtyard and people, the buyer can come and they can select those boats and they can take it away. Here it is the boat, they call it dinghy. Dinghy is a word, uh, actually it is taken from by the Britishers to designate any kind of small boats. All over the world, in America and England, in Europe, you will find that they call it dinghy, D-I-N-G-H-Y. Actually, they borrowed that term, D-I-N-G-H-Y, from us. Actually, the dinghy is from Austric-speaking group, the Mundaris language. It is the dinghy, they call it dinghy. And all over the world, the dinghy term is popularly used for denoting the small boats. Here in Bolagar, they build those kinds of dinghies, uh, keeping all planks parallel to one another. Here, just follow that. The central plank is running from stem to stern. It's going there. And then second plank, they put it here parallelly. Third plank parallelly, fourth plank parallelly, fifth plank also parallelly. In this way, the entire hull planking took place. If we look into the medieval European technology, that kind of technology where the planks moves from stem to stern parallelly, they call it hulk fashion, hulk character. It is from the medieval graffiti and some frescoes of Germany and other places, where all planks are moving from the stem to stern parallelly. Parallelly. This is called hulk planking. These are also hulk planking. And if you look to the Ajanta cave painting, where the plank is also moves from stem to stern parallelly. This is also called hulk planking. What I would like to mention that hulk planking means from stem to stern. Here, all planks are moving in that direction. So this is the tradition of Bengal. So Bengal boats are basically hulk type of planking. We know in Mohenjo-daro there were some boats depicted in various forms, and the right-hand side, that boat is typically a boat with a mast and sail. And I like that shape of the boat. That shape of the boat is typically the Bengal boat at present. I'm looking for different historical records. Here, it's a etching from F.B. Solvins. F.B. Solvins in 1799 published one book. It is called Les Hindus, where he etched more than 36 variety of boat. Here, he called that boat as patua. That kind of boat, it still exists in our Bay of Bengal, in Bengal, Odisha border. We call it patia now. Not only that patia, there are so many other artists, they have drawn their boats. We can find those kinds of boats. Here, the planking pattern is clear. And that kind of planking pattern is called a boat called hola. I'm looking for the historical records, but the nature of Bengal is not soothing for keeping the archaeological remains, the boats. So unfortunately, we have not found any old records of planked, but we have the medieval terracotta temple. There are enormous depiction of boats, boats with different heads, boats with different people, boats with different planking pattern. So at least we can get some kind of information about the medieval boat. Medieval boat, that kind of boat, maybe we call it Shinghamukhi sometimes. Moyurponkhi, sometimes Guarekhi, and sometimes in other names. Again, we can look into the Bolagor. That is the traditional way of practice of making boats, where inside the bamboo grove, they build those kinds of boats. It's a huge boat. They call it Bali Tolar Noko. These are the sand carriers. Entire process of boat building, we used to do it in our courtyard, in our boat building shed. Not only the planking, but also making of ropes. Ropes for the making of the boat. We still use our traditional tools. Here he's using a tool, we call it barshi, the edge. Edge is the most primary tool for the boat maker. If you look into the technology of boat, it's very complicated, and that complication, that entire knowledge of boat building transmits from one generation to other through Guru Shishya Parampara. A boat builder is to teach his student, he is to show how to measure a central plank, where that kind of measurement you have to take place, you have to take. What kind of measurement, what is the measurement you have to take? All will be taught in the practical way. That is the oral tradition. We do not have any template, anything written on that. This is the only information transmits the guru to his student through his practice. If you can look into the boat in the central portion, they call it chia. Chia means that one, the left-hand side, I have drawn it. And in the right-hand side, it is inserted. So chia means the boat head. Boat head is the most auspicious portion of the boat. Here you cannot put your leg, you cannot put your foot. They have to keep it, they have to maintain it very properly for the sanctity of that wood. That is the head. Firstly, you have to put the central plank, then the garboard stake. And those garboard stakes are inserted from the center board. And there are various methods. They use different types of clamps, various types of clamps they use to hold two planks side by side. And before that, putting two planks, they made rabbet. Rabbet means half flap. Then they put it in that way, then they clamped it, then they stapled it. This is the process by which the entire boat took place, the entire hull construction took place. It is in Bolagad. Still we use fiddle drill. Fiddle drill is a very complicated method by which they drill the entire boat in entire boat building process. Now you can look the stapling process. Look. Double-ended nail. After hull planking, then they insert the skeleton, that is the ribs, floor timbers, and the futtocks. Then they kept it in that way in their courtyard or on the orchard, mango orchard or bamboo grove. Any buyer can come, they can select it, and they can order it to send it to their village. So in the lower side, you can see that how they transport those boats from Bolagar to other places. There is another boat. It's very historically very important. We call it Patia, where the lower planks are added just like reverse clinker way. Overlap technology. That means a plank is fitted already, then the next plank will be fitted on top of the other, then the top of the other. In that way, they build the entire hull construction. This is the diagram. It is V-shaped. It means it can cut the water. That kind of boat is visible in the Bay of Bengal region, near Talshari of Odisha up to Dhamra. Now, I can show you that in the left-hand side, it's from Victoria Albert Museum, London. They kept that replicas, that is the original from 11th century Jajpur area. And in the right-hand side, that is the boat from Odisha, from Bhubaneswar. It is also 11th century. So here in both boats, you can find the planks are added one top of the other. That means a reverse clinker technology. That means in 11th century, that was our tradition. Left-hand side is the 11th century that boat, and in the right-hand side, that is the present day boats. Just I'm omitting the top few planks. So it looks like the 11th century boats. So after 11th century, probably the boat builders putted those planks. So there is a continuous development of boat building technology. In the right-hand side, our Patia, and in the left-hand side, Viking ship. We know the Viking technology was very common from 8th century to 11th century AD. We also know that in 11th century, we had that kind of reverse clinker technology. So what happened after 11th or 12th century? In the Viking area, that is Scandinavian country, that boat was not being able to develop further. So another method of planking developed in Scandinavia. So they discarded that Viking technology. Whereas after 11th century, we putted some planks. We put some planks on top of the bottom planks. So we survived, whereas that Viking technology disappeared. So that kind of boat, what we call it at present, the Patia, is a living fossil. The Scandinavian boat makers, the maritime archaeologists, they are very much interested to know about that technology, how we are still doing that technology, because they think it is the living fossil. That is the way of Patia building. Very complicated method of measuring. Very complicated. But truly indigenous, truly locally built. This is our Patia. I have shown you the shell built, the different methods of boat building traditions in Bengal. We know that we have more than 46 variety of boats still plying in West Bengal. There is one boat museum. They are keeping those 46 boat models because always we know it's the very the present day. It's always we are losing our heritage. Every year we are losing some boats because the need for boat is going down. So at least there is one government enterprise. They have put it some boat models for the posterity. Not only that, I am trying to build some boat models, to the scale boat models. It's called Betnai. I'm now preparing those. I'm looking into its detailing. That is called Sultani. These are the boats at present I have made. I'd like to make one exhibition with those kinds of boats. Those are the traditional boats of Bengal. It's not only the West Bengal, it also includes the Bangladesh. Recently, in the year 2022, the British Museum, they have funded our project. Professor John Cooper from Exeter University and Jishan Alisek from Southampton University, they collaborated one project where I was involved. That is the project of collaboration between the Exeter University and Central University of Haryana. We commissioned a boat. We commissioned an endangered boat. That is the boat, we call it Chot, a boat with unique technology, unique design. That kind of boat is not plying now in that region, in Shampur region. So the boat builders, 70 years old boat builders, Panchanan Mondol told me, last 30 years ago, he built that kind of boat. Now again, he's building a boat for a museum. So at least we are documenting that boat type. We are digitizing the entire hull construction. That entire digitized material will be kept in the British Museum archive. Anybody can see it. It is because it is in open access. And that boat will be kept in the National Maritime Museum of Gujarat. So it's the first project in India. We have taken such kind of initiative. I know that there is no such institute in India. They are interested to provide the fund because otherwise we will lose our tradition. Nobody will know what kind of boat was that because always day by day we are losing our river, we are losing our timbers, we are losing our typological variety. Have a look. After completion of the boat, we made a trial run. They are the boat makers. They are the boat builders. They have their knowledge, and they are trying to put their all concentrating knowledge, and they are giving it to their student. And those students are taking that knowledge for the posterity, for the next generation. I believe that they're the Vishwakarmas, and they knows the nature of river, nature of technology, and that is the tradition still we are using, till we are continuing. We had that kind of sales structure, but in 2023, we have lost that tradition. Not only we have lost that tradition, we have lost that aesthetically important, eco-friendly item. Instead, we are putting those diesel engines. We are losing our tradition. We are fading our memory. One day, our son or daughter will never know what kind of sail was that. We do not know how we will preserve that one. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Swarup Bhattacharya. That was a great talk. And I can see that you have put in a lot of effort going through a lot of literatures to collect the material for this talk. And I can see as since we are also teaching naval architecture, we are worried about the length, the breadth, the height, and the shape, how we can get the boat watertight, and how we can get the correct shape to reduce the power required for propulsion. And it's great to see that that technology was existed, and we had some good traditional boat makers who, without having access to all this, they were doing such great job. And I will just add, in Kerala also, we have such good people, some technology who made traditional boats. And a couple of examples, you must have heard about, you must be knowing about the houseboats in Kerala, which are doing a tourist's attraction now. And they actually initially were built over Kettuvellam. They were wooden boats. And these boats were used to transport cargo. In fact, they could transport what 3 trucks can transport. And so when the roads came, there were no takers for these boats. So the boats were converted to houseboats. So they were all wooden boats. And you must have heard about urus from which were famous in Bepur. So Arabs were so fascinated by the boat building expertise existed in Kerala, especially in the North Kerala, Malabar side. So they used to get these boats made in Bepur, and they used to take it to Gulf and fit engines there, and even so some government side you have brought out that we need to preserve this tradition, and we need a lot of funding support. And I'm sure, I hope, pray that this history, some authorities will sooner or later will get into some action plan to do this. So you have talked about the technical variation and the shell type, skeleton built intermediate types, and the method of fastening. And you have presented this with a lot of good photographs, videos, and I'm sure the audience would have got an idea about the technology that was used to build boats in the earlier days. And so I'll just keep the floor open for any questions from the audience. And I can see there are already some few questions were asked by the audience. I think it will be better if you can, Sakarya sir, would you like to ask the question?
Yeah, my first question is,
Yeah.
what type of wood is used for this type of Bengal boat building?
Yeah, very pertinent question, but at present, there is no choice. That means if you'd like to build a boat with superior quality of wood, then you have to invest at least 30 lakhs rupees. But you have only 1 lakh rupees. So you have to choose for the local variety. Earlier days, all boats used to build by teak, the Shegun and Shal, teak or the Shoria robusta, Shal or Shegunen Noko. But nowadays, hardly there is any boat built with that teak wood because it's high price. So nowadays, they are thinking our boat, that is the boat we commissioned in 2022, that is made of, some planks are made of Urjun, that is called Terminalia urjuna. Some are Khirish. Khirish is Albizia lebec. Some are with Babla cut, acacia variety, Babla, the Acacia arabica. These are the common woods, which is quite good, but not good like as teak or shal. So there is hardly any chance to go for the best quality wood, but at present there is any kind of wood which is easily available, locally available, and reasonably in less economy. Then they go for that one.
Is there any periodic maintenance carried out to
Yeah,
keep the wood preserved?
obviously. Actually, after building the boats, then you have to caulk it. Caulking means, you know, always you have to put the curtains in between two seams. Not only that, earlier days we used to put a kind of sap, we call it gaber kosh. It's a kind of fruit. The sap of that fruit, we used to put the entire outer and inner hull. Nowadays, we are using coulter. We are using coulters in the inside as well as outside of the hull. And in regular interval, you have to put those coulters. Otherwise, there will be a serious problem.
I also want to know, what is the type of metal staples you are using and how do you prevent it from getting corroded?
Yeah, earlier days, the metal staples were all made of iron. Now they are putting galvanized one. They are galvanized, so it's rust always. There is a chance of taking rust. But every time you have to put the coulter, and that coulter is to prevent the rusting. So you have to maintain your boat regular way. That means after 2 or 3 months or 6 months, you have to put the coulter and you have to check it thoroughly.
What is the size of the largest traditional boat in that region? In terms of tonnage or something like that?
Tonnage.
Size.
Yeah,
tonnage.
the size, yeah. The boat we commissioned in 2022, it is 35 feet in length and 9 feet in width and 11 feet in height. And tonnage, I think it is 500 mounds, not more than that, because it is the fishing boat. Yeah, but I documented another boat few months ago. That is the boat called Tholai, and that Tholai can carry 40,000 bricks. 40,000 bricks means it's a huge. Huge means I think it is more than 40 tons. more than 40 tons, a traditional boat. Yeah, it's a huge one.
Yeah, these are the questions from my side. I'm finished with my questions.
Okay. Thank you, Zakaria sir. Now I invite Mr. Ajit Shenoy, who has got some questions as well as some suggestions. Mr. Ajit, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Okay. So first of all, my compliments to Mr. Bhattacharya for what I thought was a very informative, instructive, and interesting talk, which traced the current practices in traditional indigenous boat building from their roots in the earlier centuries and millennia. So that's fascinating. My question is about education and research in this subject. It would be very interesting to know the engineering rationales, behind the hull design, as a, session chair said. For us naval architects, these are the things: hull design, sail configurations, and so on, through numerical and experimental studies. And for this, I think what would be necessary is cross-fertilization of ideas between experts in archaeology, sociology, and anthropology on the one hand, and engineers and naval architects, with expertise in hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, materials, and structural mechanics on the other. I know that there are very interested staff and students in places like IIT Kharagpur, Madras, CUSAT, and so on. Our session chair is one of those, and he has expressed an interest, and I'm sure that other colleagues in other universities will also be very interested. Maybe also, Mr. Bhattacharya, you can extend your studies or persuade colleagues in your organization to look at boats in other parts of the country, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, for example. And I think it'll be nice if the results of this work can be shared, both for students and staff in the universities, as well as in museums for public at large. So just a comment, and maybe you can tell us about the kind of works that are going on currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's very much urgent, because that kind of collaborative research is necessary, because the design, the science behind it, the technological inputs, these are the highly skilled academia where they can put interest. My interest is on the ethnography. My interest is on the community, the traditional knowledge system, the symbolism, the ritual part. So it can be a collaborative study. Always there is actually the problem is, this is the information you will not get it into a book. You have to go to the village, you have to go to the remote areas to identify those. Not only that, you have to stay with the boat makers to know how they are making those things. So these are very complicated, time-consuming, and devoted kind of work. I know there must be some people, must be some students, those who will be take interest in the future to document the boats of Kerala, boats of Gujarat, and other parts. Because last 25 years I'm working in Bengal, and I still know that my work is not up to date. I cannot work in Gujarat because the problem with the language. I cannot work in Kerala because the language problem. But at least I can go to work in Bangladesh. At least I'm trying to go to Assam, some parts of Orissa, where I can communicate myself. So we need a good number of people, good number of engineers, those who can afford to give time to document those traditional boats all over the India, so that at least we can get the access of knowledge of the Indian boat types, because India is very rich in navigation technology. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that was a very interesting suggestion that we can look at collaborating, and probably you never know, maybe those things were, if you document it with some experiments and numerical studies, so which we can, if some good things can come out.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir, for that wonderful suggestion. So we have Mr. Kamal also with us. He has given some questions. Mr. Kamal Palit, can you please come online? Mr. Kamal, are you there? Yeah, he basically, his question was he was checking any rule we followed for stability.
Yeah.
Was there any certifying authority? Probably,
Nothing.
I think these are come much later. This. So, was there anything we could find in your
Yes.
studies?
Yeah, actually, boat makers, when they build those boats, they know that boat is always bilateral symmetry. So always they check the planking from the central plank, what kind of curvature it takes place, and what is the linear distance. So always they check it. So bilateral symmetry is maintained from the start to the end. It is their practice. From the beginning to the end, they always measured it in various ways, not only in single ways, but they rely on their eyes. They look from the one portion, they keep one eye open, they look it, oh, it is okay, or maybe it is, you have to give little bit less width of that. They inform to their fellow carpenter, they do it in that way. So it is the brain and eye. Their eyes are marvelous. They knows what is there going. Actually, if you are a good boat maker, you know if that boat which you are commissioning, if it is not good, you will not get the next order. So you have to be very precise, you have to be very systematic, and you have to deliver your best to the customer. Otherwise, his profession will be at stake. Not only that,
sorry.
not only that, you know, the boat is not a matter of joke. It goes to the open river, open mouth of the river. So if that boat capsizes, always there is a blame to the boat maker that you have not made it properly. That's why our boat capsized. So always there is a very carefully they made it. And how carefully they made it? Just I'm giving you one story. A boat maker, when they start their boat building, they think that they are giving birth to their daughter. That means after completion of the boat, the boat maker, they would like to give their daughter to the boat owner's house. That means that is the ceremony of marriage. That is the handed over of boat. So it's a complicated social process. Not only an inanimate object, it's a living being. They think and they keep it in their mind that is their daughter is coming up. So daughter must be very, very, very successful, beautiful, and every sense she has to be a master in that river or water.
Yeah, another question: were these boats for inland navigation or for coastal navigations?
Yeah, actually, we have at least 10 variety of boats like Dholai, Bethnai, Patia, Chot, Khorokisti, Sultani. These are the coastal areas boats. That means those boats can go to the open sea. Whereas the other boats like Merli, Botali, Hola, Kosha, Bhedi, Dingy, Chot, Sheep, Chot Shalti. These are the inland water transport.
So we had both, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Now we have a question from Mr. Ulas Kalghadki. Sir, can you please ask the question?
My complete.
Yes, first is good evening, everybody, and my compliments to Mr. Bhattacharya for introducing this topic to everyone, which was not known to many, though we have heard about this boat building, wooden boat buildings. It's not really a question, but my suggestion is, since you spoke very much about preserving this art, this skill, this mastery, and the tradition should go on for ages, and our next generation also should not should not be devoid of this particular skill and knowledge and technique and whatnot. So why not take up this subject or introduce this subject at the undergraduate naval architecture level in the various IITs? I mean, yes, there are subjects which are FEM and finite element methods, all these are introduced, and we are forgetting our own tradition and then just lamenting that, oh, we lost this particular art of wooden boat building. I think another my compliments, because you said you are an anthropologist, but your in-depth knowledge is really, it surpasses any other naval architectures. Sorry for saying this, but I can see your in-depth knowledge, this wooden boat building. So it is all the more pertinent that you write a book on this wooden boat building and what all things should be inculcated while building these boats. Though they have limitations, but at least you'll have the honor of preserving this particular art and continue to maintain this boat building skill. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have not written a book, but my guide, Dr. Latika Varadarajan, has published our project reports in 2016. That was published by National Institute of Ocean Technology, along with Manohar. The book name is called Bengal Watercraft. So you can get that book from Manohar or in Flipkart or in Amazon. And really, it's really, you point out the question that we have that tradition, we have that technology. Really, we do not know. So we have to introduce it in our graduate colleges, where that kind of technology, typically the Indian way of thinking process, Indian technology tools, we have to introduce for our students. At least they can know that the technology still we are using, because these are the technology very important, and these are the technology which is very much relevant at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swarup. So it was, we had a lot of good discussions, and you have helped to establish a few museums of Bengal watercrafts in IIT Kharagpur and other universities. So if you have any spare models or something, you can gift it to me, because at my institution also we are trying to display something so that the young budding naval architect.
Obviously.
So if you have something, it we are collecting few from this part of the country, and if you can help us with something, you know,
obviously.
I'll be grateful to you. We are actually technology. We are moving off. We are new materials like glass reinforced plastic is now, I think, because of the lightweight and all that. In Kerala and all, we are moving away to GRP, all the new boats, and aluminium is also coming. And for bigger vessels with more water depth, we are going for steel. So, and so we are moving slightly away from boards, I think. So, but it's important that we preserve, and that is where the role of archaeologists and anthropologists are still there in any field.
Yeah.
So it's been, if there are no more questions, 1 minute, I'll just check. Yeah, one last question, Mr. Soumyadeep Basu has asked. Would you like to ask question, Mr. Soumyadeep? The question is, were any aspect of boat making in Bengal inspired from European boats or ships? I think European came much later, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, but still, yeah. Really, it's a good question because in anthropological perspective, always there is an interaction of culture. We know the Tamdolipto. Tamdolipto was the ancient port of Bengal, and then the Shoptogram. So if we look to the Shoptogram area, there are the Portuguese influence and some French influence, but there is hardly any influence on both. But if you can go to the lower Bengal, that is near Tamdolipto, in Medinipur region particularly, there are various amalgamation of technologies. I showed some photographs of a lag sail, a boat called Khoro Kisti. Actually, the term is Kasti, Khoro Kasti. Khoro means straw, and Kasti means the Arabic term, the boat. So how Bengal introduced that term? Why it is called Khoro Kisti? If you look into the boat, then you will find that it is purely followed the skeleton build technology. And skeleton build technology is not our technology. It is the technology of Middle East. And I think at the time when the Tamloripto was there was ships used to come to Tamloripto. So might there be an interaction with the others, and they followed the same method today. So they are not only continuing that technology, they are also using some terms which are very essential, very important, very from the perspective of linguistic anthropology is very important. Because I just like to mention that a tape, the mast tape, they call it heregach. Heregach is not an Arabic term or nothing. It has a relation with the ostrich speaking group. Ostrich means those who are the Santals and Mundas of eastern regions. They are the tribals. They call it here. Here means the cover of the rice. That is the paddy which is covered with that husk. That bran is called here. So that mastul is inserted onto the heregach. That means that structure is termed from the ostrich group of people. But we know that ostrich group of people might they have relation with the maritime activity. Now at present they do not have. But that structural name is taken from the Middle East region. They have that kind of structure till we follow that kind of structure. So if we look intricately to our boat, there are some strange inputs from outside of the world.
Okay, sir. So we have got a suggestion from Dr. Ajit Shanai. So he has suggested that the Kochi Musiris Binale may be a good forum to bring this work to wider attention of more people. I think the Musiris Binale is now becoming very famous.
Yeah.
A lot of people are coming to see this with a lot of our cultural and other facts. A lot of artists are showing their work there.
Yes,
So you
yes.
can think of that, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the problem is that I know there are very few people, those who work on traditional boats. I know Victor Rajamanikam works in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh boats. There is some people, those who worked in Goa boats, but hardly there is any other work throughout India. So at least we need some people, those who can work in that region, and then we can put our general effort to make an Indian scenario.
Okay, sir. So that was an excellent talk. So I really enjoyed chairing this session, and it was been a good, refreshing talk. I should say that. So because we are always talks about equations and things like that, but this was very interesting, and thank you for sparing your time and being there for us.
So the permission of the chair, sir, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think
wants to make a comment, I think.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Please.
Yes.
You want me to talk about something? I was taken back to my student days when we were taught about this wooden boat building by our teacher, Professor J.P. Kundu. I wonder, maybe many of us here have, been taught by Professor Kundu. So he used to talk about this clinker boat building and carvel kind of boat building. So that was the only kind of thing that we learned about. I have just one question, a kind of an inquiry. Mr. Bhattacharya, what about the ethnological or anthropological connection between different types of boats and the different communities in Bengal? Do you have anything to say on that, sir?
Oh, it's a huge, huge subject. Yeah. In North Bengal, look into the North Bengal, and if you look to the demography, they are the people, they are the Mech, Rava. So they have their unique type of boats. They call it Shoronga. Yeah, but they lost that tradition. The tradition we engulfed, that is the greater culture always dominated the lesser culture. So the dinghy type, the bigger dinghy type boats are now capturing the entire North Bengal. But I know in 100 years back, there were some difference that they used to build boats, a dugout boats, a boat made of a single trunk. They scoop it, and it was sometimes 13, 14, or 15 meters in length, and that is called Shoronga. So we lost that tradition. That Mech Rava people are typically related with that kind of boat. Whereas the boats of the South Bengal, generally the boat makers and the boat users are from fisher folk. They are the Nomoshudros. They are the Tiors. They are the Mollobormans. So their culture is completely different one from the North Bengal. The Nomoshudros of the Lower Bengal, they are the very hard worker, and they knows their nature. They knows the nature of the river. They can move against the current. They can move against the storm, because this is the region every year 2 or 3 such storms come where they destroy the entire their houses and the villages. So they knows what kind of boat they use to overcome that problem. That's why they put it sometimes a wastrek. Wastrek, I think the strake on top of the last fitted flag to give the extra burden, because the water cannot come from the outside. I know a kind of technology that is called the overdeveloped technology. Overdeveloped technology is coined by Maxim Marriott. He told that is in a region where a technology flourish and it ultimately gives to the saturation level. That means after that, no technological inputs will be taken. It is the overdeveloped technology. And in Bengal situation, all boats are like that because they knows that boat is capable for that kind of work, that kind of that amount of cargo, that type of fishing nets. It's all commissioned. So it's an overdeveloped technology, and there the typically a group of people, they are building only that kind of boat. So it's an ethnic origin, and ethnicity is maintained through boats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Swarup, do you mind taking one more question? Oh.
Yeah, no.
So, Mr. Kamal, you are there. You can ask this question.
Yeah, I think Mr. Kamal is on mute right now. Sir,
Yeah.
can you unmute yourself? And yeah.
Walid Saab, you need to unmute
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. My question is, was there any glue applied to avoid water leakage?
No, always they put, always not. Sometimes our Bangladesh boat builders used to build some boats. They do not put any cotton inside of those seams because they knows their craftsmanship in such a level that it will never penetrate any water between the seams. But in general, obviously, we put, after completion of the entire boat, they put the cotton and then gabe ratha, the gaber kosh. Earlier days, we used to put those gabe ratha, the sap of that gab. But nowadays, they're putting only the coulter. Except coulter, there is nothing, there is none other thing, they put it as a glue.
Sir, my last two questions are, was there any rule followed and whether there is any certifying authority, or it was just by the desire of the boat builder?
No, actually, it is the desire of the boat owner. Boat owner used to say his boat has to be of that kind of length, that kind of commodity it will take, that kind of fishing net it will accommodate. So on that basis, the first question the boat maker asked to the boat owner, where it will ply. Then that boat maker used to say his boat will ply in that region, maybe in Bosirhat region, maybe in Batnan region, maybe in Sondeshkhali region. On that basis, the boat maker will build a boat, keeping in mind of the nature of that river, of that region. So that boat maker knows the riverine character of that region. On that basis, he will build only that boat. Otherwise, he will surrender. He will say, I cannot build a boat of that region because I do not know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
As Mr. Dasgupta mentioned, that in our time, I passed out in 1960-64. I was there at IIT Kharagpur.
Oh.
That time, Professor Kundu used to teach us wooden boat building, clinker type and various other types.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was teaching at Institute of Marine Engineers in Kolkata, that time also I taught them about the wooden boat building. And then from there I started with the steel building, aluminum hull building and other things. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed your topic of discussion, your topic, and I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Like today, now we have some surveys who come and inspect the vessel at different stage. Somebody has to approve the design. Somebody has to approve the construction. Somebody has to certify the stability. We have class. So some regulatory things have come. Government has established inland water regulations. So things have gone. So it was nice. We had very good.
If I can just butt in, what Mr. Bhattacharya said, that the relationship between the builder and the owner was like giving the daughter to a marriage, into a marriage. So if that be the situation, there cannot be a third-party inspection agency. So the concept is very different. Thank you, sir. And
just
Mr.
I'd like
Bhattacharya,
to mention, continue.
No, I loved your passion. You know, the passion with which you have kind of dived into it. It's really amazing. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So we hope to meet you sometime, Mr. Swarup, and
Definitely,
it's
I'm
definitely
also
nice.
Yes,
So I
something.
thank INA for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. And with this, I hand over back to Dr. Iyengar. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was a very informative and lively session. A lot of information for us naval architects to take back, and it was when I just called, I just found out that an anthropologist is going to talk. He readily agreed, and it was supposed to be last month, but then he couldn't get the dates, and then finally he agreed to talk this month, and it was a very nice and informative lecture. Thank you for the talk, Mr. Bhattacharya. And as soon as I decided on the speaker, then I immediately called our Dr. Satheesh Babu, and he immediately agreed to chair the session, and ably today chaired the session very well, both from his remarks about Kerala boat building as well as various inputs that he was giving during the active discussion which took place during the Q&A sessions. Thank you for sharing the session, sir.
Thank you.
And also the audience who listened, and as well as took place in the very lively discussions and useful suggestions, particularly from Professor Ajit Shenoy, Mr. Kalgatti, Mr. Palit, Mr. Zakaria, Mr. Basu. All of them contributed to the lively discussion, which extended and gave us more information also. And all these things are possible only because of the INA, ably led by Mr. Dasgupta, the president of INA. And in the backbone is Mr. Amir Ahmed, who ably and seamlessly coordinated these webinar technically with all international audience. Every month he does it, and every month we thank him for ably doing that in the background very quietly. So this webinar is seamlessly happening. And all the audience and the INA office bearers who made this possible. Thank you, sir. End of session.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm closing the session, sir. Thank you.